Olá, boa noite. It's 10 o'clock in Portugal, so I think it's safe to say Olá, boa noite. Carl Munson here with a new angle on things, and I have to explain, I think. Just let me get rid of that banner. We'll come back to that later. If you would like to buy me a Portuguese coffee, I'd be delighted to accept. But I'll say more about that and the crowd-funded nature of this project a little bit later on. You can, of course, join me at any time by commenting, and you can be on the screen with me if you wish tonight on this first episode of Hola America. And of course, you can call me. The phone is ready to go. If you want to give me a call on Portugal, 351-913-590-303. So a bit of explanation. This is Carl Munson of the Good Morning Portugal project, and you can find out more at goodmorningportugal.com, which is our coffee.com page where we crowdfund the whole endeavor. And it's based originally on my journey, or my wish to be in Portugal, my subsequent journey to being here, and the last 3 years of being here and helping other people do the same. So if you're interested in coming to Portugal and you are from America, it occurred to me that you probably won't be watching our morning live stream at 9 o'clock in the morning, Portugal time. And it'll probably be more suitable for you to watch at this time of the day. 10 o'clock for me, and nearly 29 degrees in the studio at the moment. That's centigrade. What do you guys use? You'll have to educate me. And part of this is an educational process for me, I have to say. So that's the first proposition is, it's going to be too early for you to join me at 9 in the morning. So we've started doing Good Evening Portugal at 10 o'clock Portuguese time. But if I say to you, Good Evening Portugal, it won't make any sense because it's 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So really, I'm saying like Boa tarde Portugal, Boa tarde America would work, but I just thought I'd go with Olá America. And then there's the added cultural complication and possible diplomatic outrage that is wanting to cater for Canadians, people from South America, North America, and that side of the Atlantic, basically, as one big happy family, which we sometimes are and we're sometimes not, as we know. But I need your help with that. I need your help as people of the Americas. Is that even a phrase that's still used? I don't know, but I do need your help. And I know I can easily offend Canadians. I can easily offend Americans. It's so easy to offend people. Oh, okay, Fahrenheit. Thank you, Sander. It's so easy to offend people anyway. And now I'm moving into full-on sort of diplomatic outrage with how I frame and position this show. I'm delighted to say I do have some questions that pertain to people from your side of the Atlantic, but I don't want this to be a show that just only gets listened to by people from that side, your side of the Atlantic. Hopefully there'll be a few expats who are here in Portugal already, opening a glass of wine, having a drink, and able to help you with information as well. So I will just throw a couple of questions in, a few, actually more than a couple, and just to put those into the hive mind and see what we can come up with. But that's a comment coming in from America already, from Texas, from Xander, who is a regular correspondent and listener and member of an associate, I think is probably the best way of putting it, isn't it, Xander? You're an associate of our wine club, which happens tomorrow night, which is something else you might like to know about. So help me with this, how it works, and for the American audience, how do I just need to add a maple leaf to the logos or the sort of branding behind me, and everybody will be happy? And then somebody in Mexico might say, well, what about us Mexicans? We want to come, and then someone from Venezuela. How do I do this? What is not the collective noun or the collective condition or the collective geography? Do I say the Americas? And it just sounds so old-fashioned. It sounds like Alistair Cook. Some people might remember Alistair Cook on the radio when it was called the wireless, before wireless came along, so you couldn't call the radio wireless anymore. But a guy called Alistair Cook with his letter from America, which was an absolutely beautiful piece of radio, and is now a beautiful piece of radio history. So yes, I'm learning already. You prefer your temperatures in Fahrenheit. When I say it's nearly 29 degrees, that's going to horrify you. And I have a conversion, thanks to, I don't know, that's quite a complicated conversion, as I recall from school. Let's have a look. So 16 degrees is 61. Okay, it's getting complicated already. 28 degrees would then be 82 Fahrenheit. That's all I know about. So thank you for that, for your assistance with that, Shelley. Deborah Shaw is here. How does this work for Portugal? Oh, have I caused another diplomatic offence? As in, I'm not sure what you mean. Is that for people who are already here? If you're already here, we can help other people who want to be here, for one thing. I'm sure it's not just a matter of reversing the numbers, Shelley. Surely not. It's more complicated than that. We will find out for sure. She's just checking in random 30 degrees. Oh, Deborah's saying 30 degrees C. Oh, is that what it is where you are, Deborah? You're going to have to tell me more about you. Are you somebody who is in, you don't sound Portuguese, just going from the name. You might be of Irish extraction, not unlike myself. I'm British, by the way, for everybody who may well be listening in America and seeing me struggle to get my head around all these time zones and politically correct and geographically correct explanations of things. But yes, I am British. You can tell from my accent and, of course, my teeth that I am British. Hugs from Deborah Shaw. Thank you, Deborah. Oh, okay, we're all good. I just never know with the dry text on the screen. How am I to know? It's 25 with your air conditioning. You see, I would love air conditioning in here, but it's just going to make a terrible racket in the background, isn't it? Can't we all just be Earthlings? Yes, we can. We are all Earthlings. You know me, Xander. You know me long enough now to know that there is definitely an internationally bonded and global sentiment spirit to the Good Morning Portugal vehicle. And what I just want this to be, it just suddenly occurred to me, okay, we're broadcasting in the evening now. This could be really useful to people stateside, people transatlantic who want to come here. So, because those people get a chance of hearing it and they don't have to get up like our friend Shannon, who's in Texas, who's listening to us at what? I don't know what time she's listening to us at 9 in the morning. It must be like, 3 or 4 in the morning for her. God bless her. My good guess, Irish by blood, says Deborah Shaw. Deborah Shaw. And that was a terrible Irish accent, wasn't it? 90 degrees in Texas, 32 degrees centigrade. Woof. So you get a sense, anyhow, of what the temperature's like in the studio tonight. And I'm doing my best to do all this mental processing of time zones and so on. Yeah, okay, so 3 in the morning for Texans when we broadcast at 9 in the morning. So that's why we have this new slot, and it is work in progress. All of what we do is work in progress to make it work in the best possible way for the people who can be bothered to listen. That's how we roll here. So where was I before I distracted myself massively with all of your wonderful and lovely comments, which are most welcome? Where I was looking at an email that's come in with quite a few questions, actually. And that's not a complaint. That's wonderful that we have so many questions from this person who will remain anonymous. We're just looking at answering a few of these questions. And I know probably a few of the Good Morning Portugal regulars are in. The expats are already settled here, who may well be able to throw a bit of light on the less kind of legal questions and the more sociological questions. Let me put it like that. But I'll read the whole thing out first. Let me do that. And I might have to do a little bit of editing on the hoof just to bring out the pithiness and the relevance of what we need to be asking you here. So bear with me while I do that. Then I'll tell you what the weather is around the country at the moment for you folks who want to know those sorts of things. If it's like 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, or 5 in the afternoon in the United States at the moment, or Canada, of course. And I will just pick on a Wednesday night. This, by the way, this will happen every Wednesday night. This Hola America working title program every Wednesday for this. All right. So get your questions in. Tell me who you'd like me to interview. Tell me what you need to know as Americans, as Canadians, as people from the Americas for the Wednesday edition of what would be the Good Evening Portugal program, but we're calling it Hola America for you guys, so it's not confusing. I think it's going to remain confusing for me. Carl, just get on with it. Okay, I'm looking for my new home in Portugal, says this inquirer, and I have so many questions. I would love to get some clarity. Here is some background for you to see if you'd be able to help me. I should have my D7 visa soon. And that, of course, is the retirement visa that is loved by Americans wishing to settle. I mean, it's available to anyone from anywhere around the world, but there seems to be quite a spike in interest from America, judging by the webinar that I was part of hosting with expatsportugal.com recently. I think that was only last week, wasn't it? No, that was Daniel Reis talking about some of the legalities, not the D7 as I recall, but we have done a specific D7 webinar, and that must have been a couple of weeks ago. You can see that on the YouTube channel of Expats Portugal and the YouTube channel of Good Morning Portugal. If you want to find out more about the technicalities of D7, hour-long webinar, loads of information. Reis and Pelicano are a legal firm who are some of the best I've come across in terms of their accessibility, how well they responded to the questions, and so on. And there is an immigration service called, and I think I always get this the wrong way around, but it is IE Imigrante, Immigration Services, as in the letters EI, but it's pronounced IE, I believe, in Portugal. PM me. Email me, carl@carlmunson.com, if you want these specific contacts. Okay, so should this inquirer says I should have my D7 visa soon, hopefully, and then I can make a commitment. I've got somewhere where I'm living in Portugal at the moment, so there's no rush, and they have housing until November, but they know time flies, and December will be here soon enough. Of course it will. While we're having a lovely time, summer will pass in Portugal, won't it? And we're having a lovely time at the moment, and time flies, as you say there. The other fly in the ointment is that I will need a year's lease or a property purchase for my CEF appointment, and that is the basically the Border and Immigration Control of Portugal, SEF. Okay, and I'm not going to attempt to tell you what that means in Portuguese, but it's Estran. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But again, I can tell you in greater depth. But SEF is what you're looking for, the government department that deals with immigration. So they are saying they need a year's lease or a property purchase for the SEF appointment, which is who knows when, as I still don't have my D7 yet. Okay, so it's like catch-22 sort of situation there. It could be 2 to 4 months from now. So that is a bit tricky too. That isn't exactly a question, but I guess what we might suggest there, and we'll go into this in greater depth after we've done the weather and after we've done a news story about the president here, who I'd like you to meet. I don't know what to say about that, but I think you can check the progress of the D7, and yeah, actually the webinar that we did with Daniel Reis is really good, and I don't know the person who's asking these questions, if they're listening or not, or if they're going to catch it on the replay, but I would advise you to check out the interview we did with Daniel Reis of Reis and Pelicano, Reis y Pelicano. I am drawn to the area around Coimbra because of like-minded alternative folks. Good choice, Central Portugal, yes. Not sure about the cold winters, though. Definitely not the Algarve, as the summer heat is too much, having spent years in Oregon, part of the States. I believe Porto's weather is a bit too cold and rainy after all those years in Oregon. So really questions here are rising about climate and temperature and what the winters might be like. Castella Branco is mentioned here as well, has like-minded folks in terms of, the community this person wants to live in. But the heat. I have been an acupuncturist and functional nutritionist for 30 years and want to be valuable to the community I moved to. I'm alone at this point and don't want to be isolated. That I am sure of, and fair enough. I mean, the research you've obviously done there puts you in some good places, I think, but we'll return to that. A little horta, a garden where I can, or a farm where I can grow some food, but not a larger quinta I would feel overwhelmed by, seems more reasonable, but maybe not. So that's a question to come up. And that did come up on this morning's live stream, actually, about be careful about the amount of land grabbing that goes on. It's very tempting to get a lot of land and then you find yourself in a difficult position managing it. I hear horror stories about apartments and managers and other tenant problems. So I think a little detached house would be best. Often the way, I guess, wherever you are in the world. See, so many questions. Is it better to find the community first or the home first? Good question. I think the community is more important, they say. Like-minded people are nourishing to the soul. Absolutely. And this person goes on to say that they are concerned about the state of global affairs. And they've recognized that I too am like that. And this, if you did tune into Good Morning Portugal, you would see that that's where I'm coming from. I think Portugal is a great place to settle in a turbulent world at the moment. And me personally, Carl Munson, I think the homesteading, self-sufficiency, community interdependence vibe is really good, and relying less and less on central government, basically, and politicians to figure this all out, because it's going to be a bit of a challenge the next few months and years, I think. A friend in Spain just read in the news that the Spanish borders will be shutting in September. They need the tourist money, but will close for the rest of the year, at least after the tourists go home. I didn't know about that. That's interesting. There is a chance they will close earlier if their numbers continue to climb quickly. But for the moment, it looks like September the 18th is when the Spanish border might close. Thank you for letting me know that. I have some money for a small purchase. Is it better to own a home as, excuse me, as the US dollar tanks, and I can get better value now and then can't get kicked out if funds get low later? Or is it better to wait a year and buy when properties have had to devalue here? Great questions. And these are very subjective and kind of crystal ball things. But I suspect a few people will have a few ideas. And they want to take me out for beer, wine, coffee and tea and chat. But that's not logistically possible. That comes as a great blow to me. There are other ways to support the Good Morning Portugal project, by the way, and going to coffee.com, ko-fi.com/Carl Munson, and you can buy me a coffee. And if enough people do that, I'm going to be rich. Do you think you can help? I feel we're very like-minded listening to your show. So I think it's quite a few nice things to go out there. You Good Morning Portugal regulars, I think we can help this person. And this person signs off by saying that they feel so grateful to be here and want to contribute to this wonderful country and its people. And I have to say, to me, that's the first and foremost sentiment or characteristic I would hope for in anyone wanting to move to this fabulous country. Okay, so there are a few answers coming in, and we will take a look at some of your comments in a moment. Not a secure site, by the way. Which one's that? Is that the Emigrant site that you're referring to there? Let's come back to that. Let me know a little bit more, Deborah, about that, and if you have some concerns about that, and we can just put that directly with the people concerned. But what I want to do now is tell you about the weather, because it is the afternoon in America, of course, and you might like to know what it's like at the moment here in Portugal. And it's 23 degrees in the capital and clear. And tomorrow we're looking at 30 degrees in the capital. And I'm going to have to change this, aren't I, for Wednesday nights and give it to you in Fahrenheit, because this could cause, on the one hand, a lot of confusion, and perhaps on the other hand, it's some irritation that, like, oh my God, why is he doing these European metrics for the weather? So bear with me on that as I learn more. Oh my gosh, something caught my eye then, and it's the dog. Jimmy Chew, our puppy, is in the studio. I didn't realize he's in here. Something moved out the corner of my eye, and there he is over there stretching out with his leggy limbs. Porto, 21 degrees at the moment. And you can look forward to temperatures of 26 tomorrow in Porto. Coimbra is 22 degrees at the moment, and it was warm I'm fairly near Coimbra, between Aveiro and Coimbra here. Aveiro will be one of my recommendations to that person who was asking. But tomorrow, 29 degrees is the forecast high. So cooling down a little bit of cloud, merciful cloud tomorrow. That'll be nice. I'll be taking the kids out with a bit of cloud cover tomorrow while Mrs. M works during the day. And Faro, and yes, a cloudy sky tonight in Faro. 25 degrees, though. Very comfortable for a little promenade around the little lanes of Faro. This is the district weather, of course, though. But yeah, when you come to Portugal, you've got to go and have a look at Faro. 29 degrees today, 33 degrees tomorrow in Faro. Lovely, clear, sunny day. I do have weather for Aveiro, Beja, Braga, Castelo Branco, Évora, Leiria, Santarém, Viseu, Bragança, Guarda, Porto Alegre, Setúbal, Viana do Castelo, Vila Real, and the Azores and Madeira, should you need them. So just ask if you want to know, get a sort of weather comparison and temperature check in any part of Portugal. I'll gladly supply that for you. And let us go now to introduce you to the president of Portugal. What a guy. He has been, well, I'll tell you where he's been, actually. This is what this story is about. He has been in Portimão, down there in the Algarve. Here he is. That would be President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, who recently has rescued two damsels in distress on a kayak down there in the Algarve. He just swam out and rescued them. He's an example, I think, to presidents all around the world. I'm aware that I am broadcasting to Americans, and that could sour things a little bit, couldn't we? If we get you talking about your politics over there, I'm up for that. Maybe we'll see how that goes. But I mean, if you're looking for a model president in many ways, look no further than Portugal. President Marcelo in Portimao today, as weekly visits to Algarve continue. So he's down there in the south of the country, drumming up business basically, and going around and reassuring people about the situation, and wanting to encourage people to go there from all over the world, as well as people from domestic tourism as well. Portimao is the next stop on President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa's summer tour of the Algarve. He will be meeting with the region's mayors today, and this was published a few days ago, actually. But yeah, he has been down there in Portimao and went to a dinner at the town's Faena restaurant. The president was visiting the Algarve at least once a week in these last few weeks to support the region he admits was hit the hardest by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the British government's decision to exclude Portugal from its travel corridor, which was ridiculous, I have to say, as a British person. I extend an apology to Portugal on behalf of my former government. I call them my former government. He wants to show people that the Algarve is safe, whilst also meeting regularly with local mayors to stay up to date with the issues affecting the popular holiday destination. These weekly visits are expected to continue until at least the end of November. So what a dude, what a guy, I think. There he is, President Marcelo. And of course, this is quite a good way. If you are the sort of person who likes to look at a news site, we have two principal news sites online. We have the Portugal News and we have the Portugal Resident. Both emanate and are based in the south, because obviously that's where most expats are. But you still get a pretty good view of the news, national news of all kinds from both of these. My personal preference is the Portugal Resident, the one I'm looking at right now. But both are good. Both are good, various angles and a slightly different treatment, as you would expect from various types of publications. And this is what I'll do. I'll treat you to a news story, article, each week, and we may even have people coming on and talking. Well, we may have interviews and other sorts of features. Let me know what you want. So back to the matter in hand tonight, and we will attempt to answer those questions. Porto, says Deborah Shaw, and Cascais are two recommendations, and I think this is based on finding like-minded people. I think more of the alternative types we're thinking. I don't know about Cascais. Cascais, Deborah, I have in mind as a definite expat destination, no doubt about it. Little bit on the military side of the expats there, right? And the more affluent and well-heeled, the more the more sort of more materially minded. I'm choosing my words carefully here. If we really want to polarize and stereotype expats in Portugal in a very broad brush, in my mind anyway, you have the well-heeled expat who may have a number of homes around the world, one of them being in Portugal. And that person may well choose Cascais or the Algarve or Porto or Lisbon for a second, third or fourth home. The homesteading hippie alternative type, for which Portugal is also very attractive, they tend to be in central Portugal and Castelo Branco. So central, in the area that I'm in, I'm between Aveiro and Coimbra, pretty much, halfway up and down, between the principal cities of Lisbon and Porto. You get a sense, there's actually kind of topographical senses that we're central. We're between Coimbra and Aveiro, and we're between Lisbon and Porto, and we're between the Algarve and the Green Coast up at the top there. So it really feels very central here, and we're on the fairly close, 20 or so kilometers away from the sea here, and then the whole band of central Portugal that goes from here over and through Castelo Branco and towards Spain is favored by the hippie types, the homesteaders, the happy homesteaders, and that's our group, incidentally, because that's very much my angle here. Not just, excuse me, not just in terms of personal life choices, if I may call them that. But also, I have it as a bit of a prescription for a sustainable future for a wider section of humanity. And we were talking about this on the show this morning, about how do we reimagine and rejuvenate the economy. And I think we're going to have to move away from less of a sort of consumer model and a material model where, the spending of money in services and tourism is the way to make money and have people be secure in their livelihood. Because as we've seen, it's really precarious. It's not very sustainable, is it, to have an economy based on tourism? I mean, no problem with having a part of it and perhaps a large part of it. But if that's the only egg in your basket, that's not very sensible. So Portugal is awesome in terms of how self-reliant people are, and the indigenous, growing traditions here, farming, rural life, and how inventive and productive people are with food and shelter. And in a way, we're kind of moving away from that, as all, most sort of Western developing countries have entirely moved away from that pretty much, and, turned to factory farming. But here, there's a different sort of curve, because whilst many, of the sort of ruling elite and the aspiring classes of Portugal want to move away from that, really, and live a kind of city life, modern, technological, etc. We still have a lot of old folks in central and around the country modeling that. What I find is a beautiful way of rural life. It's hard. It's, I don't want to romanticize it overly, and that's why people want to move away from it, because it's blimmin' hard. But I like that, and I suspect we're going to move back a little bit with this current economic crash and recession, and embrace that a little bit more, because a great part of it is not just the self-reliance. And I know in America you got a lot of preppers, haven't you, and people who go to the hills. Is it the Bullets and Beans Brigade, who just want to get their own little fortress basically, and cut off from the rest of society? I don't see it like that here at all. I see that community life is alive and well in a lot of these small places in Portugal, and you feel it, and you also see it dwindling, decaying, and it not being necessarily part of the long-term future, sadly. But who knows what this post-pandemic economic crash might do to have people, because we've all found, haven't we, that we can work online, and a lot of companies are saying, like, don't come back to the headquarters, stay where you are, this is working out fine, stay at home, work online. And Wi-Fi, broadband, fiber, it all works very well in many parts of rural Portugal. So you can live in beautiful surroundings, quiet, beautiful, community-inspired, community-led surroundings, and be in touch with the like-minded people, as our earlier inquirer was talking about. And you can still earn money, online and with your kind of corporate, semi-corporate life. And that has become easier, isn't it, with the pandemic, for sure. Okay, enough of my blather for the time being. We'll come back to those questions. Worldweatheronline.com is good for gauging temperatures in different seasons in different regions. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that input. Obviously, something you use there in your research. Where are you at, and how are you doing with your? If you don't mind me asking and prying, obviously you're welcome to tell me to mind my own business. But it's really nice when people share where they are in terms of in terms of their adventure. And specifically, if they've identified a place in Portugal and why, or if they're here and how they came to be there. Evening all, yes, it's a red-faced emoticon from Neil Perkins. Now, Neil is at your service in the Alentejo region. I have asked him this before. Is it Alentejo or is it the Alentejo? I think it's Alentejo, and it is hot there. It is hot there. If I go to the weather tonight, if I look at, where am I? If I look at Beja, for example, in Alentejo, 37 degrees it's been today, and it's 36 tomorrow. Less cloudy, partly cloudy tonight, and still 27 degrees as I speak in Beja, in Alentejo. So yes, Neil, it's a warm one. He's at your service. If you want to know about Alentejo, Neil's in the house, everybody, and I'm sure won't mind answering a question or two, especially if you buy him a glass of wine next time you see him in the Alentejo. Jimmy Chew, what a star he is. He's flaked out now, though. He's been a very naughty boy. I've made him Well, our landlady here made him a lovely kennel. You know, dogs live outside in Portugal, and I understand that. It's a habit I'm getting used to. And actually, yes, if you're bringing your pooches from America, this is a consideration, isn't it? All the stuff about flying them over. Actually, I should get Bruce Joffe on here, who's written a book about this whole thing and has made his life in never to go back to America, living in Portugal. I think he has a home in Portugal and in Spain. What a star. We must get him on one Wednesday night. Bruce Joffe, absolutely. But he's flown his pooches over and knows a lot about, having animals in Portugal. And I'm getting used to this. You know, I'm used to having the dogs indoors in England. And our landlady here created a kennel for Jimmy Choo and Peggy, his stablemate, Peggy, who turned up. You know, we haven't bought either of these dogs. Peggy turned up under a bush one morning. And my son said, there's a dog outside, appears to be covered in blood and under the rose bush. And next thing we know, she's having puppies with us some months later. And what a story that's been. And hundreds of euros at the local vet. Flipping heck, Peggy. And Jimmy Choo, I think it was January, when a colleague in an office I was working at said, your kids want a puppy, right? I'm thinking, yeah, they probably do, but I'm not going to mention it. And then before I know it, the guy's in marketing. What was I thinking? He managed to get me to go drive my son over there, and we picked a puppy. And here we are 7 months later with Jimmy Choo curled up at my feet in the studio. Can't get rid of us, Carl? What's that, the Canadians? I'm so sorry, Frank. I should have consulted you, shouldn't I? I don't intend to get rid of you. I don't intend. Will it make it okay if I just change the name of the show and put a maple leaf there? Someone said as well, oh, you're going to upset Canadians by putting the eagle on there. It's like, I suppose eagles are also available in Canada. And I'm just aware that I'm treading on eggshells or diplomatic stuff, you know, the sibling rivalry thing. It happens, doesn't it, with the Aussies and the Kiwis? And it happens in the United Kingdom without a doubt. So I should have known better. But I just wanted to I wanted to launch it tonight. And I suppose, a launch in haste, repent at leisure. And I hope I still have a friend in Frank. He's our man tomorrow night for the Expat Sport Report. Had a great program last week. Sorry, no, Friday night. It's Thursday, the wine club tomorrow. I'll come back to that because Gary, who loves Jimmy Choo, has chosen the wine. And he might tell us all about it. He might put a link in the comments tonight for you. But Frank is our man on Friday night. It's the Expat Sport Report at 10 o'clock, talking about all kinds of sport, you know, sports that Americans would understand, sports that have to be explained to Americans, American sports that have to be explained to British people, etc., etc. And were you right with the boxing, Frank? Let me know. Ready to open the wine? No, day early, Neil. Day early. Hold your fire, sir. Put that rosé back in the fridge. Open something else tonight, and join us tomorrow for that Lidl rosé. We are chewing our nails. Oh, so many comments. Fantastic. We are very keen. It's brought an edge to the wine club, the idea of getting a good rosé from Lidl. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. No pressure, Gary. So not yet, Neil, not yet. Tomorrow. The UK-Portugal travel corridor is now open. Absolutely right. Yeah, I was just banging on about how they dragged their feet and how it was an affront to the Treaty of Windsor from, I think, 1386, you'll find, where early kings of Portugal and England, respectively, made a pact and said, you know, each will come to the aid of the other. Spoke to my pal, the expats expert, the real Portuguese man, Diogo, the other day. He said, he just poo-pooed the whole thing. He's like, we don't need stuff like that anymore. It's the modern world, you know, just give people help if they need it. And I thought, okay, yeah, we are sort of harking back perhaps a little too much. But, you know, the Brits can be like that, as can the Portuguese, I think. The regular gang are here, got the rosé ready to go for tomorrow night. We just keep opening the fridge and looking at it and putting it against our foreheads on this hot, balmy night here in Portugal. A vote for Aveiro from Rosa Sidley there. Tell us more, Rosa. Why do you love Aveiro? Incidentally, tomorrow night, I wonder if I can get this up on the screen for you. Let me see if I can. Because with Expats Portugal tomorrow night, we're having a social evening. Oh, yeah, I can do this for you. Here we go. I'm going to share this on the screen. Tomorrow night's fun and games where people like Rosa, Neil, Gary will do this at some point, I think, are going to pitch their part. pitch their perfect part about which they are passionate in Portugal. Check out that alliteration. And it's for this event tomorrow, the online social meetup. So it's a busy night tomorrow night. Portugal Calling. It'll be me, Astrid, and Jerry from Expats Portugal. It's from 8 till 9 tomorrow. Wet Lisbon time. I've only just noticed that, which obviously doesn't refer to moisture or condensation or anything like that. Dampness, moistness. It's Western European? I don't know. New online social meetup. First evening of this kind, connecting people already living in Portugal with those wanting to move, a little bit like what we're doing tonight, but specifically a bit of networking, make some new friends, ask some questions. We're going to have a quiz. What could possibly go wrong with a Zoom-based quiz? We'll find out, and join our community, have a bit of fun, and also the chance to pitch your perfect place in Portugal. Come on and sing the praises. Just a few minutes, like Dragon's Den style, you know. I'm Carl. I live in Anadia, which is between Aveiro and Coimbra, and it has a population of around 20,000 people. And the reason I love it is, and it will be that and a little bit of a Q&A. So if you want to join us for that, it's still free, obviously, but you just need to just jump on that Zoom call tomorrow and take part and have a bit of fun. All helpful intel, I think, for anyone wanting to build up a picture of coming to Portugal. And what I've got friends here at the moment. Good evening to you, Henry and Nina and family, if you're tuned in. They've looked at even more properties on their second visit, and they're in that situation that I think a lot of us old timers here, 3 years me, are familiar with the Portuguese conundrum. It's like, there's another nice place and another nice place and another nice place. This isn't getting any easier. And a beautiful house and another beautiful house and a beautiful river beach and a lovely town. Oh dear. And you know, that is you are spoilt for choice here. That's part of the conundrum we are addressing this evening. Oh dear, can only find red and white pacheco, but I have something pink here I can open. Matron. You can't say things like that. Watching from here in the San Francisco Bay Area. How beautiful. Where the temperatures are nice. But yeah, we're suffering from poor air quality due to wildfires all around us. And that's something that Portuguese people are no strangers to either, unfortunately, Esther. You know, it's a global problem, isn't it, in countries with forestation and high temperatures, and managed better or worse, I guess, wherever you go, often according to the you know, the politics and the economy. But they're doing a pretty good job, I think, so far this year in Portugal with it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say to folks in America at the moment with the fires. You know, just love and best wishes, basically, and you know, hope everything turns out okay there. Devastating. So thank you for tuning in tonight, Esther. Anything we can help you with? You know, what questions do you have? Although I think you may well be a Portuguese person who finds themselves in America, right? If I remember rightly. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, and apologies if I am. Gary Austin, got to keep an eye on him, Frank. Hi to all our American guys. I think he's talking about me here. Guys, you've got to come see this place. It's vastly unrated. Okay, let me see if I can. I know this is not going to. I was going to say it's not going to end well. It's going to be a tricky path, a hopscotch for me with this America's thing. We'll see how it goes. It is work in progress, but he's absolutely right. Americans, Canadians, people of South America. See, I'm fluffing going into my geographical knowledge of the countries of South America. But Venezuelans, you know, there is an influx of Venezuelans. You know, higher numbers, more applications from people from Venezuela, Mexicans, Chileans, and other people of South America, and so on the spot. But this whole thing of, you know, the people from that time zone, that what would it be? Longitude. Oh dear, geography, as you can tell, wasn't my strong point. I'm just trying to offer a service basically to people who aren't awake at 9 in the morning. That's where this started. Mark, thank you, Gary. Mark Rigby. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's the news link for the British U-turn on. There's a lot of U-turns. More U-turns than an episode of Starsky and Hutch at the moment in British politics. Thank you for that, Mark. We feel for you, Esther. We're all used to the annual forest fires here in Portugal. Absolutely. Yeah, and as I was saying, there is a sort of resonance there for us, both sides of the Atlantic. It's a shame we can't send you some of our rain from the hurricane that just made landfall. Yeah, in Texas there, by the sound of it. The Alentejo. Okay, let me see if I can hardwire that into my head. Still 30 degrees. 20 to 11 in the evening here in Portugal, and it's still 30 degrees there. Pretty humid as well, I'm guessing, Neil. And it's not like many parts of America that just have air conditioning plumbed in. The temperature variations in Portugal, this is something to bear in mind and get used to. The temperature variations are huge. And this goes back to our earlier inquiry. And we'll get back to that in just a moment. In the winter, it's wet and damp. And in the summer, it's hot and humid. And it's like, I don't know that there are climate conditioning, climate control systems that can work with that. So you often get something in the middle, which doesn't work for the extremes. And, that may well be on a night like tonight. Yeah, so much is similar between Portugal and the Bay Area, including the fires, sadly. But yeah, on a more positive note, we have the bridges, don't we? We have those remarkable. I think they were architected by the same architect, designer, engineer, the great San Francisco. Is it the San Francisco Bridge? Is that what it's called? And the 25 de Abril Bridge in Lisbon have a striking resemblance to each other. And stick that on your list as well. Drive across that or get the train across the Fartagos rail service. It's a good thing to do is to get the train from the Lisbon side to the south side of the river. Have a little look around Casillas, Almada, go up the Cristo Rey monument, and then get a ferry back. That's, for me, that is must-do stuff for Lisbon. But yeah, thanks for pointing out the similarities there. Happy to share, says Mark Rigby. I'm in Southsea, UK, where King Charles II married. I nearly said King Charles the 11th. We're not there yet. We haven't even got to King Charles III, have we? And some say we're never likely to. But anyway, King Charles II married Catherine of Braganza. Okay, another link between the two dynasties. I'm looking to rent long-term in northern Portugal. Okay, slightly unusual approach. I'm loving this. Sites like Idealista and Caeira only have a few rental properties, so any advice from other listeners are welcome. Yeah, rentals, it's a very interesting thing with rentals. The rentals we've had, we've been in house sits. Excuse me. We have rented, and no, I don't think any of the rentals were through agents, and I'm reluctant to do so. I have to say, because they're sort of a little bit of a middle. And we all got to earn a living, but I'm not that keen on the idea of the middleman thing. And actually, yeah, the one middleman situation we had ended disastrously, but he wasn't an official rental agent. But I mean, to me, Mark, the best strategy is to go stay. It's a bit high risk, I guess. But if you go and stay in near where you want to live, or your first pin in the map anyway, and ask around, get a foothold of some kind, maybe a house sit, low risk house sit sort of thing, and get known in the area, get to know local people, and that's where the best rentals come up, person to person. That don't necessarily make it into the agencies, and they're not going to be advertised on Facebook or the internet. So I would say get into the community you want to go to or near it, and ask around, get known, and word of mouth is the way forward on that, in my view. Even I've got a bottle, says Joe. This is referring to tomorrow evening's rosé tasting. This has brought a few people in. Good move, Gary. Some people who haven't joined us before have been inspired by the rosé move. So good one. Thank you, Joe. Pure Portugal has good listings as well. Yep, friends at Pure Portugal used to do their podcast for them, and may well do that again another time. But Pure Portugal, definitely, pureportugal.co.uk. Some great rentals there. They've got their variants. They've got Pure Portugal properties, rentals, holidays, and on all kinds of the various ways you can buy and stay and rent and so on and holiday in Portugal. So very good shout there, Xander. Going to the Expat Sport Report for a moment. I got the fight spot on until the fourth round. Povetkin was on the canvas twice, got up and delivered an uppercut in the fifth round. Oh, really? Upset then? So White went 99. I didn't know that. Good. I got my finger on the pulse, Frank, haven't I? Good thing I'm not a betting man. It is. And it's a good job I didn't listen to you and put a bet on it. Better luck next time, Frank. Wow. Upset from the 40-year-old boxer. Rosa says, my husband has traveled to 60 countries and Portugal is his absolute favorite. And we could take it from a man who knows there, right? 60 countries, and Portugal is still number one for, I'm going to say, Senor Sidley. So fantastic. That's a really good testimonial recommendation. Great mix of people, says Gary. Wonderful fresh food, history, culture, beautiful sense of community and family, and amazing wine. What more could you ask for? You see, Gary's someone who's been here for a little while and still not fed up with singing the praises of the place. And this is what happens when you become a lusophile. Is that what we could call ourselves? People who love Portugal, lusophiles. We never miss an opportunity to sing the praises of the place, as Gary is doing there. So we're going to go back to that email in just a moment, and I will ask you for your input as we work our way through the questions there. According to my DNA test, I'm 3% Portuguese, says Esther. I'll take it. My strong connection to Portugal is because I lived there as a child when my dad was stationed at the NATO headquarters. Yeah, and that presumably was Cascais. There is a NATO base there, isn't there? We were there. Wow, you were here for the revolution in 1974 at the NATO headquarters. They all must have been on edge. What an amazing time to be in Portugal. I really want to talk to people actually who remember it. I'm sure your memories. You're too young to have strong memories, Esther, of 1974. But I would really love to speak to an expat who was here pre-74 or even at the time of the revolution. That would be such an interesting program. If you are that person, if you know that person, please come forward. Would love to talk to you. Right, so back to this email that came in. Carl@carlmunson.com is the email address if you want to get in touch with me with any questions you've got about Portugal. And let's see what we've managed to answer so far on this list of questions. More the merrier as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely no problem with so many questions. D7 visa. Yeah, okay. So the webinar on that is well worth a listen. And the webinar with Daniel Reis of Reis y Pelicano. Excuse me for coughing so much. It's usually when I talk about COVID that I cough, but I think it might be the conditions in here. And I might be allergic to little Jimmy Choo. Who knows? Okay. This thing about needing a year's lease or a property purchase for the SCF appointment. Yeah. You have to prove your tenancy here, don't you, or your foothold here, one way or the other. I mean, I would just go back to with rentals. Yeah, get known in a community. Go word of mouth with rentals. And you're talking about purchasing a property. I'll just jump forward a little bit. A little detached house, you're thinking, would be best rather than getting involved in apartments and all the kind of service charges and the politics of living in multi-occupancy buildings. My personal preference would be actually, I've lived in a few rentals here, so don't have a big problem with that. But then I guess the maintenance and so on of the flat or the apartment belongs to the owner. So I don't think this is a specifically Portuguese inquiry, is it? You're going to get that wherever you are in the world. But I do like the image of your little detached house over which you are sovereign and you are the boss with no others to be to take into consideration. So that does sound like a good bet, but that's just purely an opinion. Specifically then on these areas, what do you think, everybody? I'm drawn to the area around Coimbra because of the like-minded alternative folks. So this person wants to key in, connect in with the alternative-minded people. Pure Portugal, the group on Facebook, is your obvious community with that. A lot of people of that wavelength vibration, I would say. Not sure about the cold winters, though. Yeah, and I would recommend where I live, but it does get a bit chilly and damp, without a doubt. And people were recommending Aveiro. Aveiro has the lovely moderating breeze, the maritime effect that keeps it from being too hot in the summer, but you may find it a little bit windy and cool and chilly and damp in the winter there. What do you think, everybody? What's the right balance here for this person who finds the Algarve will be too hot based on their experience in Oregon, Porto too wet and cold, again referencing Oregon, and Castelo Branco, of course, which has a lot of the like-minded folks they're looking for, but the heat is too intense. What comes to mind is Miranda de Corvo. I don't know if you've had a look at that community, Miranda de Corvo. I did a lovely interview with Arwen Johnson, who's opening a cafe in Espinal. Miranda de Corvo, Espinal, Panella, I would look at as well. Can get a bit chilly up in the mountains there, but I don't know. You're not going to, unless you go to the Algarve, you're not going to escape the damp and the rain, and you're still going to get it there to some extent, aren't you? So I guess you've got at some point, there are going to be days when you don't like the weather. The two most impressive things I've heard about descriptions of the Portuguese weather are: one, there are 300 days of sunshine, which may or may not be true and is subject to global warming, but it's a good guide and I like it. And the other is that Portugal is a cold country with a hot sun. So, and the first time I heard that, and this is thanks to Darren, who told me that at Kippertree, new property portal, kippertree.com. He told me that, and he was told that by a Portuguese person. And it's true. The sun is intense and hot here and beautiful. And we have beautiful blue skies, but when it's gone, it cools down. We're on the Atlantic coast, aren't we here? And obviously, as you move more into the inland, you have the thermal effect of the land. But it is a cool or cold country with a hot sun. It's quite a good way of looking at it. I don't know how much help that is. So yeah, you're an acupuncturist, functional nutritionist for 30 years. With that sort of cred, you might actually be invited into a community. The other place you might want to think about is Benfeita, but again, is that still in the Coimbra district? But I think can get a little bit cold and chilly. It's quite mountainous, so that might not suit you, but worth a look. You certainly won't be isolated there. In the places I'm talking about, Espinal, Penella, Miranda de Corvo, and Benfeita, Fundão, all those sort of areas, you will definitely be on a wavelength with people, so you won't be too isolated. This point you make about a little horta, where you can grow some food, but not a large quinta, I think there will be advice coming in about that. Don't be, oh, look, what's happened to my green screen? The eagle and the what's he called? The Barcelo cockerel disappeared there in a haze of snow, as if making some sort of weather comment for you there, our correspondent. This is what, Henry's here. Henry Jeffries on tour at the moment, saying hola, bonne noite to you, Henry. And his partner Nina was saying, so tempted to buy lots of land because it is a bargain often, relatively speaking. Resist that urge. I would say go smaller rather than bigger. I don't think you'll regret that, unless, of course, you go small and you've got a balcony and it's just ridiculously tiny and nowhere to grow. But really, I think it's better to err on the side of caution when it comes to buying land rather than making an absolute liability for yourself, especially if you're not that experienced with gardening, and then you'll be into a lot of maintenance and having to hire people to do that sort of stuff. So smaller rather than bigger. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. Rachel, hi Rachel. Mark, from what I've noticed, there isn't a central website for all listings like MLS in North America. You need to check each and all of the real estate websites: Remax, Keller Williams, Century 21. Thank you for that, Rachel. About rentals, there's an opportunity, right? There is an opportunity for a rentals. I mean, you could go to OLX, which for us people who don't speak Portuguese is olx.pt, which is like the eBay of Portugal. I believe there are some rentals on there, and you may find rentals on Facebook and Facebook Marketplace. But there's an opportunity for someone there, isn't there, to run a credible rental site for Portugal? What an opportunity. I'm a guaranteed loser file now. They'll have to drag me out. Love this place. Yeah. I'm not sure if you were making a joke there or not, a loser-file, and your prediction about the boxing, Frank. But yes, I think loser-file. Oh, we're going to find out more from Mark Rigby here about that. My guess at somebody who loves Portugal. But he definitely loves Portugal, says Frank, and they'll have to drag me out. Same here, Frank. Lusophile. Luso denotes Portuguese. Clarification for newcomers who may be confused by humour of loser-file. A loser-file is somebody who loves losers, and such people do exist. Do they not? I could make such a poor political comment there, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave that hanging there. Okay, so back to this. This is, I think, a Canadian having a bit of You know, you were talking about noisy neighbours, Frank, the other night with Man United and Man City. Is there a thing there with Canada and America as well? The United States. The eagle is fading there, Carl. And is that winking emoticons? What am I supposed to say there? What does that mean? I'm going to just spell it CACA without getting myself in a lot of trouble. Okay, so yes, so many questions. I think we've dealt with the land issue. Don't get too much. I think we've dealt with the area issue. People were recommending Porto and Aveiro, and I've added to that list as well. This is a great question, perhaps one we could end on tonight. Is it better to find the community first or the home first? What do you think about that, folks? This particular inquirer would like or thinks that the community is more important. Like-minded people are nourishing to the soul. They are, and they can be a massive pain in the bum as well after a while, can't they? But I get your point. It is important, isn't it, to be among your tribe? That's what people say, isn't it? Find your tribe and be with your tribe. I would say, you know, if you have to choose one, a community, you know, go be with people, visit people who are on your wavelength. Like you say, like you suggested to me, take them out for lunch, talk to them, and hang out with them, and they will introduce you to other people, won't they? And you will then create a little network, and then you'll get the word of mouth effect. So I would say go, and this is what I've learned actually. I was very taken by how places looked in terms of their sort of, you know, picture postcard appeal. And I now live in a place which, when I first saw Anadia, I wasn't blown away. It's not unpleasant to look at, but I didn't quite get it. And I didn't see the old town and so on. So it wasn't like driving into Óbidos or San Martinho de Porto or these places that just really stand out. Alcobaça, you know, you go there and you think, wow, this is beautiful. It wasn't quite like that when I first came here to where I live now. But the functionality of this town is incredible. And we have found like-minded people nearby, and of course, you know, you've got the web, haven't you, to for your extended social network as well. So all of that said, I would say go hang out with people, you know, Airbnb near people of the same wavelength, hang out with them, go for a walk with them, whatever, you know, but just hang out with people of that like mind and just get into a community. Community first, says Frank, agrees there. Community, Gary agrees. Yeah. I don't know if you guys did that, but in retrospect, they're both saying that. You can't ask me this question with 2 minutes to go, Xander. Land, what is too much? A very quick answer. People will always pick too much, but I think invariably people have too much garden and not enough time. And it depends on your gardening style. If you're a forest gardener or a permaculturist, you can manage more land than you can if you do it in an intensive traditional way, as in traditional, not as in traditional indigenous, but traditional as in modern gardening methods, you know, with things in rows and just, you know, attacking the earth. But if you go more permaculture, organics, forest gardening, you can manage more space and create a forest garden and simulate more the conditions of nature. I can't put a number on it. I really can't. But, you know, just go less, half as much as you thought you would want. Maybe do the research on the style of gardening you want to do. You know, don't be idyllic and romantic about it. Get practical. Get the handbook of the particular kind of gardening you're going to do, whether it be permaculture, you know, modern or whatever it is going to be, and do the research on that and decide on that. I've copped out there, haven't I, Xander? Okay, I'm sure we'll come back to that at some point. We're finishing off now because we're up to the 11 o'clock hour. But do you not feel when the rain comes and the cool weather, you're just about ready for it? Yeah, absolutely. But that's the nature of human beings as well, isn't it? It's like, oh, it's too hot. Oh, it's too cold. But yeah, I get your point, Gary. Yeah, Portugal has a reasonably predictable weather, hot summers, wetter winters, but all very tolerable if you have good heating. Good point, Gary. Electricity here is hugely expensive. EDP are taking the mickey big time. I don't mind saying that on record, having been at the wrong end of their pricing policy. Had to heat a big place through a cold winter electricity is horrifically expensive. Go off-grid. What's it called? Renewable, if you can. And obviously that's more difficult in the winter. But yeah, look at other methods, and good heating, good insulation. You probably have to create that for yourself. But yeah, again, don't be impressed by, wow, I've got a house with loads of land and loads of rooms and loads of floors and loads of outbuildings. You may never get round to doing them all up. You may never get round to cultivating all that land, and you may never visit every room in the house which you are heating throughout the winter. So yeah, like, pick a number, halve it. That would be my off the top of my head advice, but that's great advice from Gary there. Let's just finish off with a few. Xander's a permie. So what would be too much for you then, Xander? You know, what would you say to somebody who is self-reliant, a single person or a couple? What is an ideal permaculture patch? We must do a permaculture special then if that's what you are, and you might want to have a little bit of input into that. Adega, yes, make sure you've got a cellar. You see, yeah, get your priorities right. Frank says, oh, he was just winding me up. Benoit Carl, you still have a Canadian friend. No worries there. That's what I love about you Canadian people. You're so cool. I have to butter him up a bit. You're so cool and easygoing. That's why the world loves Canadians. 2 Canadian friends. Hiya, Shelley. Yes, I've got 2 Canadian friends, everybody. I've done an Ola America show, and I've still got 2 Canadian friends. That's how cool they are. You can always get more land. Yeah, that's the thing. I forgot to mention that. You know, your neighbor may lend you a bit of land, and you can make an offer, can't you, on land around you. So I think there is a lot of scope for cultivating other people's land. That's a smart thing to do, isn't it? Have a small bit yourself, and then offer to cultivate the land of neighbors who are too busy. You know, modern Portuguese people would rather be working, you know, at the office and getting all corporate and that sort of stuff, I think, than looking after their garden. They pave the gardens. You know, they're low maintenance. They don't want to do that stuff. So you might be able to do it for them and share the spoils, because there will always be too much food that you're producing, or an abundance, I should say. It's not a complaint. And Joe, I'll let you know in March. I'm not sure what she's letting us know about the heating, possibly. And I currently have half an acre, and I'm spilling out of it. How long did it take you, though, Xander, as a permaculturist, to grow out of half an acre? Very interested to know. And that's the subject for another episode, I think. So thank you very much, everybody, tonight for all your input. We are Luciphiles here, and we are appealing on a Wednesday night to the people of the Americas to join us if you're considering making a move here. At your service. If you like what we do, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/Carl Munson. Even though we can't sit in the same cafe together, you can virtually buy me a coffee, which I will go and enjoy. And this service is entirely crowdfunded in that way. Please consider doing that, and please consider joining us again if you want. If you're living in the Americas and this is a better time of day for you to get the information you want, and then you can see what a forthcoming, wonderful hive mind and lovely group of people we have here. So I will echo Xander's sentiment there of wishing you a good night. Have a good rest of evening wherever you are in the world, whether you've got hours to go or if you've just got an hour like me to go of this day. We'll be back on in the morning. Busy day tomorrow. Good Morning Portugal tomorrow in the morning, which you can always watch on the replay, actually, you Americans. And we are talking to somebody who runs an online international school, which is a good option for all kinds of people who can't commit to being in a place long term with their kids. A really great idea, an idea whose time has come, I would say. 8 o'clock, The Social with Expats Portugal. And 9 o'clock, Gary, the rosé from Lidl, and available from other places as well. We will be tasting that bad boy at 9 o'clock. And a good night, and thank you from Shelley as well. Thank you, Shelley, very much indeed. Go well, everyone. Until the next time. Até já. Até próxima. Até amanhã for you guys in the morning. Ciao, ciao. Beijinhos. Abrazos. Bye-bye.